We may popcorn around a little bit on the agenda just because I'm seeing that some people are not on. Um, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we have is the sustainability workshop at APSA. And this is with Mehul, who's not going to be able to join us today, and Colleen. Are there any updates from your point of view about the sustainability workshop?
Well, Mahul has sent his the sheet where like the template of the sheet, and Allison today also sent hers. So I think the rest of us are still working on ours to match it. Um, and, and I was like last week, I was reading again the format, and we have no AV during the session. So I know we're the sustainability, but are we planning to distribute those tip sheets to people? And if so, do we each bring our own a stack, or do we are we planning to print them centrally type of thing?
So I
So,
think we're hoping to have a QR code for each of the sheets so that you don't have to
Okay,
print and bring
okay,
anything.
okay.
And we've, we're the last session of the last day.
Yeah,
So we're also hoping that we might be able to distribute the QR code or at least have the QR codes on display somewhere throughout the meeting. I'm still waiting to hear back from Mary and Henry as to whether or not that's going to be feasible. Um, but yeah, I think what we want to do is, not have an expectation that you're going to have a bunch of printouts and that you're going to have to like schlep that with you
okay,
to the meeting, but just have a QR code that it would be able to pull it up.
okay.
yeah. And I don't see Ali on right now. Last At our last meeting, we did go over her her handout sheet and gave some edits and like informed some areas where like somebody else who was looking at it who hadn't, you know, didn't come from a place of an expertise might need a little bit of additional information. So glad she passed that out to you. So Annie, you
Mhm.
have it. And who were the others again? Ramen was one.
I'll
Who?
come up with a handout also.
Oh, Hannah, you got one? Okay. Questions or concerns from your point, Hannah?
No, I was just going to say what Colleen did about a QR code, but it sounds like that was already well thought out. And I am working on a grand rounds presentation for next week. And then after that, my schedule should be more free and I'll put together a handout to share with the group.
Oh, great. And is your grand rounds on sustainability or another topic?
It's on our sustainability.
Very cool. Very cool, Hannah. Okay. Does anybody else have any other updates then for the sustainability workshop topic?
I think we have at this point 3 scribes. I think Linda, you said you were available. Grace Nixa had emailed me, and Richard Glick, who just texted me, he unfortunately can't make the call tonight, but assuming his travel gets approved, he will be at the meeting also. So ideally, if anybody else is planning to be at the session, we need one more person to step in as a scribe. If nobody else is there, either me or Mahul would be able to do it because we will be there moderating. But it would be nice if there is somebody else available, that's great. You can just reach out to me separately. That'd be fine.
Chris, I see his hands up.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, perfect.
Chris, I'm putting you down as a scribe. Okay. All right. Anything else? I mean, I wanted to update the website, but I wasn't planning on doing that until after the meeting. And then we were thinking about featuring it in a 2-minute what is that, the 2-minute newsletter. But I think we were planning for those to go out also after the meeting. Okay, so our next item is about the Toronto Star investigating. Annie's here, and is Sharmi here?
Yep, she's here.
Where are you, Sharmi?
I'm here. I'm just on my way home.
Okay. You want us to skip you and come back, or you want to go now?
No, it's okay. We could go.
All right. So Sharmi has sent out the draft and we forwarded it to you guys to take a look at. Do you have any updates that you wanted to tell us about, Sharmi? Right.
Um, no updates right now. I think we're just like we're just trying to get it edited and then approved by Sick Kids Communication. Um, I saw your email with the edits. Thank you so much. If anyone else has any suggestions on like the voice or like sort of the flow. I didn't want to sound too negative or anything like that. So if you have any suggestions and could take a quick look, that would be really awesome.
So actually, I think in our among our group, we have a couple of people who are, more experienced at writing op-eds. For one, Ken had some thoughts also about the draft.
Yeah, I think it's a good first start. I think that I think I probably would think about how do you want to reformat things in a way that becomes a little bit more um, eye-opening. I think you want to grab the attention of the reader, and you want to create more of a impact and really think more kind of on a larger scale. I mean, I think that what you're focusing on right now is interesting in terms of providing some work that you're doing locally. But I think if you're going to write an op-ed, I think you're going to want to reframe it in the context of a bigger problem and suggest people who are reading it to do something impactful.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I had to turn my mind around because I'm like kind of really more used to writing scientific papers and like systematic reviews and stuff like that. So for me, when I was writing the op-ed with Colleen, I had to really think about writing with a different voice and trying to send a message and make a point that is short, succinct, and impactful. So that's really different from the style of writing that I've been trained to do. So,
Mhm.
um, Ken, would you mind working, or would you, Charmy, would you guys be okay working together to see if we can, how the draft can evolve?
I would absolutely appreciate it. I think the first draft I did do, it was more so like big picture as mentioned. But then I was having trouble figuring out how to balance keeping it more big picture and then also giving some like eye-catching data. So I think this one became a bit more technical. So yeah, I could find the balance and then send that out. I would really like some feedback on the next one. I think that's so valid.
And Annie, I know this is your project. Did you have any
Yeah,
comment?
no, me too. I don't have much experience about writing op-eds, so any feedback from the group would be most welcome.
Okay, great. Shami, I question the approval. Are they specific on the version that they're approving? Like if you have one that's already like going through the process right now of getting approved and rubber stamped, if you change the wording, does it have to go through that process again?
I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of making sure that sick kids is represented in the way that they like. So I don't think, if we include paragraphs that are not concerning sick kids, then I don't think um they will change their approval.
Okay.
I would suggest writing this without sick kids rubber stamp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem with having a link to sick kids, there's two issues I can see there. One of which is anything that you say that might be inflammatory, which I mean we're not going to say that, but
Mhm.
if at all might be construed as being inflammatory, will be kicked out by sick kids. They will not want their name on anything that's inflammatory. The other part is it almost becomes a sick kids op-ed and not your own.
Yeah,
I think that may be a challenge.
okay. All right, so then we would have to probably exclude any sick kids mentioned in
Mhm.
the op-ed.
Joanne, you raised your hand?
Yes, I just wanted to add, and I'm sure if Ken is helping you edit, that any reference to APSA would likely be taken out as well. And
Mhm.
also, even this committee, I just want to clarify with Charmy. Charmy, did you ever become a student or resident member, or do you have a formal connection to APSA? Because maybe we need to help you with that if that is something you need to do.
Yeah, so I did complete that form that was sent out a while ago. Um, but I remember there being one like error that I wasn't able to complete. Um, I could let you know what part I was having trouble with because it was like something that I just like I'm still like I'm a medical student, so I wasn't able to complete one aspect of it. But
Oh,
I could
no,
let you know.
yeah, no problem. And
Yeah.
we can reach out to Jennifer James and just
Hmm.
kind of formalize your connection to this committee and everything. It should not be hard to do.
Okay, amazing.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to help you with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the version that I read didn't have any reference to APSA, so
Mhm.
we're okay with that. Um, I mean, I think it would be good to be able to refer at least to their project if you can get the sick kids reference out.
Yeah.
Because your idea is to try to minimize the unnecessary instrument and disposable items used, and then perhaps even get an AI program to do
Mhm.
that and minimize the labor required. And I think that's an excellent idea to be able to disseminate that to places that they don't have medical students able to like look at the back table and count things and go through the trash. Um, but you have to do that without referring to sick kids, without referring to
Mhm.
your project.
Yeah.
It's written, it very specifically mentions you. So, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll rethink that. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll move on. The next item is about state and local activities. So, one thing for this, I did join AAP, and I finally got it. Oh my gosh, it was so painful. My membership got mixed together with another Linda Lee, who is apparently a cardiac surgeon or whatever, and she must be much older than me because she's in the senior committee or whatever.
Nice.
And so I finally got it all straightened out, and then I voted for Colleen.
Nice. Vote early and vote often in Chicago politics.
They didn't let me go back in to vote again, though. They're very strict about that. Okay, so there's that. And has anyone else joined any state or local activities or are participating in any movements or supporting any local legislation? Maybe anything that's like, um, I don't know. Does anybody else live in New Jersey? I don't think so. I think it's New York, but anyways, just if anyone else is doing anything locally, let us know. No. Okay. With the AAP also, there are state chapters. And so I joined the New Jersey chapter. And then I'd also joined the Concerned um, Climate. Why I can never get this name right, but it's the Concerned Clinicians for like environmental activity in the New Jersey state chapter. They send out a lot of emails. They have a lot of, I think I've signed on to like 2 petitions at this point. There was another petition that recently came out about having New Jersey go to like zero emissions by 2035. I think it was 2035, and supporting that. So these chapters are very active if you get on them. And there's a lot of apparently actually a lot of legislation out there, and I have to pick what I can support. Colleen, have you heard anything from the New York one?
Um, I've been trying to, so Steve Goldstein has kind of been the president of the chapter. I've been trying to get with him so we can set up a date for another meeting and hash out what our agenda is going to look like. But he and I have just been having a hard time connecting. So we will hopefully get something going in the next few weeks.
Okay. All right. And I think the New Jersey's next meeting is not until, I'm going to say May. I think for some reason they don't have one in April. So I'll let you guys know if there's anything new. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We're going to finish early today, guys. Okay, the next one is about on the agenda is the APSA position statement, which we have already submitted and had it rejected. But at the advocacy meeting earlier this month, did anybody hear that Whit said that it was okay to put it on the website?
On which website? The APSA website?
The APSA website?
I
Well,
don't think so.
No? Okay.
it depends on how you're going to put it on there. If you list it as position statement of APSA, that's not going to get on there.
Okay. Because
Took,
I was
sorry to interrupt. I took notes, Linda. I can review the notes I took during the meeting and get back to you. But just I second what Ken is stating as well.
Yeah. I suspect that I mean I'm sure that you guys are correct about that because obviously we submitted it to the board as an APSA position statement and they turned it down. But I was asking for clarification about like, you know, if we could edit and review and resubmit and that sort of thing. And I thought that he said, my notes say that he would like to read the position statement and that it would be okay to put this on the website. And I said, really? And,
But,
and I think
but
we moved on and I was like, what?
in what format was it? I don't remember this being discussed.
Um, we discussed it when it was like when Joanne was going through the individual subcommittees. So when I was talking about mine, we talked about it.
Hmm.
Okay, so
I will also point out it was actually never brought up to the board.
yeah.
I can review my notes, Linda, because I was taking notes while the different subgroups were talking, but I do think you've had a lot of encouragement from Dr. Holcomb to write a perspectives piece. And it may have been that he was indicating he'd be very happy to receive a draft of a perspectives piece that relates to the position statement, just because of his role as the editor of the journal.
So I think that's what was happening. I think there was a little bit of back and forth, and I think there was some saying of perspectives and some saying of position statements, and I think we were maybe simultaneously talking about two different things. Our perspectives piece has been submitted and accepted, so that should be coming out. I actually just submitted or reviewed the proofs today and sent those back to JPS. But Ken, I'm really curious about your statement that our submitted position statement was never like brought to the board. Can you, because again, like I'm a little bit ignorant to some of the um uh like the mechanism of how some of these things happen within APSA. So is that unusual that it never came to the board, or does it need to get submitted in some other way so that it does get brought to the full board?
I don't know if we actually have a formal way of how these things go. This would be
Okay.
the first time I've actually seen a position statement come up since I've been on the board. Um, I think Tom certainly can take the prerogative of being the president as to what he thinks needs to be brought to the board, but I have no experience otherwise aside from what this was brought up.
So does that suggest that maybe we as a committee need to sort of just table it until there's a change in leadership? Like if he doesn't think this is a priority for APSA at this point?
That can certainly be something to think about. I mean, the reality is Tom's your president right now, and
Right.
until the summer rolls around, he's going to be the president. One could choose to wait until the summer and see what Andrea Hayes Dixon says. I don't know whether that would change things or not. I don't know Andrea's position on things. I don't know.
Okay. We do in the position statement clearly call on APSA, or I'm sorry, we do in the perspectives piece clearly call on APSA to take a stand and have a position statement. So I almost sort of feel like we should not really do a whole lot more with the position statement until the perspectives piece has had a chance to come out and people can digest it a little bit. And then, I don't know that there's like a whole lot of chatter about the APSA perspectives pieces per se, but I guess we can wait to see if there is any talk, and if it seems like it's favorably received, then maybe revisit the position statement.
The last, sorry, the last paragraph of the editorial of the APSA, the traveling to APSA paper.
Mhm.
I specifically tried to gear it in that direction. And all I can say is that nobody's throwing darts at us or throwing darts at me for having included anything like that at this point. So maybe no news is good news, and waiting is a decent strategy.
And the reality is we're not really talking about that long. I mean, APSA's in essentially a month, right? So we're talking about new leadership relatively soon. I don't know which issue of JPS the perspectives piece is going to be coming out, and I'm hoping it's a relatively quick turnaround because I imagine they don't have that many perspectives submissions yet at this point in time since it's relatively new to the journal. But I don't know, I haven't gotten any kind of indication yet as to which issue it's coming out in.
I've known Tom for a long time, and I can't imagine personally or professionally that he has a particular disdain for anything that might have been written as a position statement, given the responsibilities and everything that's probably going on in his head and around him with APSA pending is probably more reason, good, bad, or indifferent. But that would be my guess.
And the thing I think about is that let's assume for the sake of argument that the position statement that was proposed was accepted. What the next step would be is, okay, great, you've got it written down, it's accepted. What's the next steps? And that is probably more important in my head as opposed to a position statement. I mean, I think it's like, okay, well, what do we need APSA to do? And as the group that thinks about this more than any other group within APSA, I mean, I think the next logical question is, okay, what do you need APSA to do?
Mhm.
Like, what are the mechanisms by which we as an organization can reduce greenhouse gases, how we can improve sustainability, and have projects that APSA can then focus on to say, because I don't think anyone in APSA is against the concept of sustainability. I think that's kind of crazy.
Right.
The part that I think I'm reading between the lines that Tom has stated is that I think he wants position statements that are focused on specifically things that you can have actionable items that relate to children's health. Not to say that sustainability isn't, but if our job is to connect the dots, then we need to connect the dots. And if our job is to do the next step, which is not only do we connect the dots, we have to make it so that we can make a better outcome, then that's our job.
Yeah.
The position statement, I agree, is a useful thing to have, but not having it out there doesn't mean that APSA isn't supportive.
Mhm. I mean, I
But I
think we
think that's
have,
fair, and I think the fact that the perspectives piece was accepted so quickly reflects that.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think the group would have, in our prior publications, we've written, specific ideas that we think APSA as a group can do. Um, Including, things like offering, or continuing to offer the virtual option to attend meetings, having the offsets during registration if you're attending in person, um, looking at their financial investments and divesting from from companies that are, you know, don't have sustainability goals. And I feel like we do have some things, but I don't know that we have the ability to speak out about that unless APSA's organization lets us know that, yeah, they'll be supportive of that. But we could go ahead and start, leave it
Well,
up to
maybe
you.
the
What do you
thing
guys think?
isn't a position statement, but it's a proposal for we'd like to do X, Y, and Z for our meetings, right? I mean, we wrote it in a paper, but I mean, God only knows who read that article, right? But if we went to the board with we've written this paper, we think this is important. This is something that we as an organization can do, and I mean, it would be relatively low hanging fruit to find a reputable offset and include that as an option, right? Like in the registration for the meeting, right? Something like along those lines. Like that wouldn't be a big effort. It wouldn't require a ton of work on anybody's part, and then we, like that. But we haven't actually like formally proposed that. Like Ken, maybe that's what you're getting at is like more actionable items and less of a statement. I mean, it would be great if we could say our organization has a statement, right? But if we're not going to have it, then I think to your point, what's our next step and how do we actually like take steps to do things?
Yeah, I think you do need to come up with proposals. Like choose the one that has the most impact with the hopefully least amount of effort and least amount of costs or lost income. And I think if you look at all the projects that you would potentially propose, coming up with the one that causes the least amount of pain with the most amount of gain, kind of that balance, and then propose that as your first one. And the first one's always going to be the hardest because it's like change and everyone hates change. And so having that as your focal point and saying, our committee would suggest that APSA do this. We've looked at the finances of what this would do. This would cost us this. The effort of doing this would be this. What do you think? And I think that will end up being more productive. It will get you the next step of what you want to have happen. And then afterwards, you can write a paper on that.
Joanne, you had your hand raised for a little while.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Ken and everyone was saying and just let you know, Dr. Tracy also really indicated to me that all position statements, or anything that comes from APSA, you need to directly link to caring for children. So just something to think about with how we write going forward. As far as surgeons, Dr. Tracy indicated to me that he was very happy the meeting was in Montreal because of all the opportunities for public transit, and that this is one thing that has come out of your work and bringing attention to sustainability, and is that looking at having our meetings where in cities where there is more public transit and better control of trash and whatnot, so that we are just as an organization being more sustainable. Um, and I think you can revise the your information in the APSA advocacy website as long as you don't put it as a specific approved position statement. You could definitely still use the very same concepts as part of something that you wanted to put on that page as an introduction or a summary or
Like we need the verbiage, but not
Yeah,
label it as like a position statement.
that's right. You could, I mean, I've read the what was written, and I mean it's great. It just can't be said that this is a position, but all the concepts are very good. And then we can sort of explore because APSA's coming pretty soon. Maybe Ken would be the one to, or if I see Andrea, we can just kind of maybe just have an informal conversation with her and see what her thoughts are on this topic going forward and see what the culture for this is going to be going forward.
Yeah. I like your point about the meeting being at Montreal sort of in response to um uh, among other things, sustainability concerns. And, maybe I don't know if it's possible to have a representative from the sustainability group like involved in the decision making whenever they decide on where the next meeting locations are. Or maybe it doesn't have to be like a representative from the sustainability subcommittee, but at least like a line item in their many things, I'm sure, like size of the venue and et cetera, and costs. But one of the line items would be sustainability. Like that could be like another option as like a ask, if we move on beyond the position statement and just go on to the next step, that might be another one that we could suggest.
Well, I can tell you that so the meeting next year is going to be in Chicago. What is it next year? It's Chicago next year, I believe. And so the meeting following that they're already looking at the meeting to follow that. So that's already in the works.
Mhm. Do you know by any chance if they are looking at sustainability in their consideration of locations?
I don't recall it being one of the line items that was being looked at. A lot of it ended up being um, how easy it was to actually travel to, and how the hotels were set up and kind of the mechanics. I see Sarah's hand up.
Yeah, I see Sarah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to get the hand thing to work. I didn't know how to do it. Something on a much a little smaller scale,
Mhm.
but could be something taken on by our small group or even an individual with the assistance of some others would be like setting up within wherever the meeting is, having your trash, recycling, and compost bins, and then having a little informative thing above each set of those to kind of say this is where these things go. Again, it's not super huge and impactful, but if you want to take little steps and trying to improve meetings, that isn't even to matter necessarily where it is, and then that could be a role for someone to determine, where is that stuff going to go in case it's not already part of the city or whatever. That's something I would have a hard time believing anyone would be against and could be taken on by our subcommittee again, headed by an individual without terrible effort, I think, to at least set up the papers to explain what to do and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or consider venues that offer, like more robust recycling options. I feel like I've been to some conventions where you can't see a recycling bin anywhere, but then there's others where there's a recycling bin next to the trash can, and non-disposable items. So
Those kind of projects, I think, are going to be more instructive and helpful in the long run. So, I mean, I remember when I was at this meeting, which was the IHI, and what they did was they actually bussed everyone to the airport after the meeting was over. And it saved everyone, taxis, Ubers, cars, and they just stuck everyone in a bus and said, okay, have fun. And they said, this one's going American, this one's going Delta, and they just bussed everyone. And I bet you if you end up looking at that, the cost, so the carbon footprint of that is going to be smaller, I hope, than a bunch of cars going back. And so those projects, I think, are probably going to be ones that could be suggested.
I
Again,
love
you have
that.
to look at the costs and benefits of this, but those are the projects I think are going to get you visibility and will get people thinking. It's like, oh, this was a good idea,
Yeah.
and add that to what they want to do later on.
Especially if we can hang a little sign on the bus that we have saying that, this was supported by the sustainability subcommittee or something like that. Thank your sustainability subcommittee and get a little bit more visibility that way. At least make people think about like, oh, it's not just it's the convenience of the bus, but it's, saving all those other vehicles traveling the same location, same distance. That's great. I'm going to change this topic from APSA position statement to like things that we can change like internally within APSA. They're all great ideas. Anybody else? Joanne?
Just to add on to what Sarah was saying, some meetings remind the members that at the end, your lanyard and your plastic badge, they have a bin especially to recycle all those badges. And I mean, that would be something that could add on to Sarah's idea and could have a sign, courtesy of your sustainability subcommittee. I think that was at CAPS at the Canadian meeting actually last year. They're doing that. So these are some very practical things that we can work on.
Remind everyone to bring their own water bottles, so you're not, using plastic and other ways of, and these are simple things. And I don't, I mean, your concept of, having water stations at the hotels and stuff, I think that's a good thing to have. I mean, unfortunately, that's probably not going to be the make or break about whether they're going to choose a certain hotel or not. But, it's getting into the kind of the norm. Like you have to normalize making these parts of the decision. I wouldn't try to do a whole like 20 different things for them to think about, but as you start kind of adding on piece by piece, like when one of you all end up being APSA president, then you can do a big wholesale change. Like when Chris Moratori becomes APSA president for that, like for example, he can make a big change.
My slogan is protect the child, save the planet.
I like it.
There we go. Except if we have to write it down, we're writing it down.
There you go.
Win?
Yeah, Dr. Gao's statement just made me think of this, but something that might be easy and feasible, perhaps even before this upcoming meeting, would be to put together just like a list of travel recommendations, things like bring your own water bottle, and just small suggestions that attendees can make that can either go out in like the pre-program emails or go out in like a 2-minute turnover kind of situation of just very small, easy suggestions, and that'll increase visibility and maybe even make some, again, small impacts by just having people think more intentionally about how they're traveling and their travel decisions related to attending the meeting.
Joanne?
Just to add on to the discussion, maybe some of you all know about this already, but there are some North American cities that the cities actually have a plan that by a certain year they will be a zero trash city. And just to add to your planning, we could look at some of those cities and just say the sustainability committee suggests looking into these particular cities as meeting locations in the future. I know Vancouver, Canada is for sure one of them. They have a very well-developed recycling system for absolutely everything. And you actually have to abide by it or they don't pick up your trash. So I wonder if like some of the Northwest American cities too have plans to become a zero trash city. Just something that kind of fits with what we're talking about.
I really liked Wynn's idea about putting together a list of travel suggestions and sending them out because when Ken was saying about remind everyone to bring the water bottles, I'm like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? Okay, so we can put together a list of travel suggestions and then they all go out. We can ask if they can send that out as an email before the meeting. I think that's great.
Well, we can definitely put in a 2-minute turnover. I mean, that's something that is easy to do. And if you have your top 10 or top 5 recommendations brought to you by the sustainability committee, that you get visibility and you get people thinking about what they can do. And you may not see the effect, but the first time you see someone carrying their own water bottle around, yeah, you might have had an effect. You never
Fantastic.
know.
Yeah.
If you can figure out what the like, I don't know off the top of my head what the how to get from the airport to the hotel, but if you tell people how to do it and how like how to get a the subway ticket and all this kind of stuff and make it easy for them, it
Mhm.
is less likely that we get an Uber or a taxi.
Yeah, too.
It's my guess.
These are all things that can go on the APSA webpage. I can't imagine that, that this would be controversial.
Yeah. I love those ideas. Let's do those, guys. Let's do it for this meeting, this upcoming meeting. Let's do it. At least you can definitely send out a list of travel suggestions, how to get from the airport to the hotel.
Just as a quick sidebar, I was just going onto the website of the hotel that we're having APSA, and they have a whole section of sustainability on their website. Um, so,
Share screen and let us take a look at that.
oh yeah, I literally just opened it. So hold on.
Annie, sorry if you need to go.
Yeah,
We're running.
thank you.
Okay.
But I think actually that there's a new transport system from the airport to downtown Montreal, and
Oh,
it's
really?
like a high rail link um, between the airport. They were building it in the recent years, so I'm sure it's finished by now.
Yeah, if we can tell people how to use it, I mean, I would use it for sure.
Mhm.
I don't want to take it. I don't want to rent a car.
Yeah,
All right, what you got?
thank you.
So yeah, I just went to their website and clicked on the thing that said sustainability, which I didn't anticipate, and it has this. It's not a ton, but um, it could be something that we could even just reach out, not us necessarily. We'd have to obviously clear this with the hires up, but
Mhm.
ensure that they're gonna implement some of these things, and that it's something that we also want to embrace as part of our meeting potentially.
Do these drop down anymore?
No, this is it. Oh, well, wait, maybe here. What's this? Oh, yeah. So they have a bunch of usable containers.
It's really good.
They're an approved partner of Oceanwise. That might be something to find out more about what that is and then promote hotels that are part of that.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like they have composting as part of their. So if that's already something they have there, like I'm happy to throw together a basic how to. Um, sustainable travel.
Mhm. Or at least we could send out something that's like, highlighting their compost program and like maybe like a what you can throw into their compost
Right.
bin and what you can't. So we're not going to be the Americans that throw our candy wrappers in there. Win.
Yeah, this is just a quick thought too, but I don't know if anyone knows Carolyn Lemoyne. She was a pediatric surgeon at Lurie, who now is at St. Justine in Montreal. But she like recently published on waste management, pediatric surgery in their ORs, and I know she's very interested in this topic, and she's located in Montreal. We might be able to engage her and see if she has any kind of like really local suggestions if we are sending out like a plan to incorporate into people's travel, because she might be able to I don't know, point people in the right directions with things like transportation, or even if I know Everett's always organizing like dinners and stuff, like suggestions on restaurants that source locally and appropriately and things like that. She could be a really interesting resource.
What's her
But
name
I'd be
again?
happy to reach out to her and ask as well.
Yeah, what's her name again?
Carolyn Lemoyne, I'll pop her article into the chat. It just got published in JPS just oh gosh, in January, a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
This all needs to just become normal.
This is great.
be the agent of the change that you wish to see.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, like as far as just kind of going back to what Joanne was saying, like that Tom wants to see more straightforward connection between health, children's health and sustainability. I mean, for me, it's just like every day we are delivering healthcare for children. Every day we are doing that. So every day in my practice at work, what can I do to be more sustainable, to look, um, to support climate change. So I feel like to me that's the connection. And so it would be all of these, all of these things. My concern for travel, um, when we're in the OR, not using disposable instruments if we don't have to, not opening up a bunch of, having a huge set of like 120 instruments for a hernia case or something like that. And, I mean, like to me, that's our delivery of healthcare and our mission to be more sustainable. But okay, anyways, I think we ought to move on since we only have 10 minutes left and want to just make sure we hit all of the items. But I think that's fantastic, guys. After the usual minutes that I will send out a separate email a little bit later on to talk about to start like brainstorming for this travel guide email to send out to APSA, and then we can bring that to probably the program committee. Would you say which committee should we send it to ask them to send it out?
I would send it directly to, I mean, just let me know and I can actually try to get it into the 2-minute turnover.
Oh, okay.
I mean, are you talking about like the hints and tips and stuff?
Yeah,
Just send it to me. I can try to get it up into the 2-minute turnover. That should be pretty easy.
got
Do
it.
you think there would be any way that we could link it to the website? Like when you go to register for the conference or check the hotel availability? I know most people probably have registered, so it may be too short to get it on there.
No, but I go back to the website to look things up again right before the meeting usually too. So
Sure. Write it up and I can see what I can do to try, get it added on. I mean, we control the website, so it should be fine.
awesome, awesome idea, Hannah. Okay. So then next, with JPS, we've already talked about the perspectives paper, it's been accepted. I actually saw it as a EPUB ahead of in EPUB like ahead of whatever actual print. Because I was looking at a number of other op-eds and I saw it actually already published. So it's already on the internet, even though it says draft across the thing. Okay. And the next topic is the review. Do you guys remember from several months ago, WIT had encouraged us to write a review? And there were a number of people who were on who were interested at that time, but I wanted to revisit this. And we've tabled it consistently for a number of months in a row. Um, and if you guys want to take it on, great. Otherwise, maybe I'll just take it off the agenda. But it was Sarah, Hannah, Sharmi, Raman, and Win. Are you guys still interested in this?
What was the review on again? Can you remind me?
It was a review on like recent projects like across the, I think our scope was going to be like across the US of pediatric surgeons doing like sustainability projects in their local areas.
Like a summary review, like a informal systematic review type of idea.
Yes, and I think Win had done a similar, like part of the scope was similar, and we were thinking about using that as a backbone to jump off of. But anyways, do you guys remember any of? No? Okay. Sorry, I saw you unmute, but no.
Yeah, I think part of the hang up was that we felt like some of this work had already been done
Mhm.
and how to rewrite it in a way that added to the existing literature. Um, I think that was part of the reason why there hadn't been more forward progress on the project.
Although we might gain some insight, obviously at the meeting coming up in terms of response to the meeting, response to all of this activities that we're talking about tonight. And so, it might provide a good launching point, Linda, for, the next writing opportunity, review, or whatever you want to call it. You might really, each of us might pick up different gaps that we've learned or identified from our colleagues, resistance points, anything like that. And we might be able to use, those situations as, an opportunity to write, correct, or, you just use that opportunity at that point.
Should we keep it on the agenda and just kind of see how things develop?
I mean, I think if you're going to write a review article that kind of shows you different suggestions about how you can make changes within your own hospital, I think that's a good thing to do. I mean, I think that shows you things like shows you the steps that you can take in order to make changes at your own local place.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're looking at, right? Writing a review.
Right. Well, I think the way we were thinking about it was like different types of projects, but maybe it seems like as
Sure.
you guys are talking, maybe it's a review about the barriers that you come across, like different kinds of barriers that people come across. You guys think?
I would convert it into how to overcome the barriers.
Oh, okay. How to overcome the barriers. Okay. Let's put a positive spin on it. Does that sound like?
Well, I mean, I think the review the way Ken just phrased it is pretty much what's being presented at APSA. What do you think, Colleen? I mean, in terms of the spectrum of the topics being discussed and Wynn's previous work and integrating this work into like actionable items for people who stop by and what to do in their own environment. So, I mean, the review would be a review of that, but
I mean,
You may
what you're
you may
presenting.
want to write it after your breakout session.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just keep it on the agenda. Here's my suggestion. Keep it on the agenda so it's there in the forefront of like what can be put into that next writing piece that would be helpful and easy to take on.
All right, we'll keep it on. And then maybe write up the workshop. All right. Sarah, Charmy, are you still on? Wynn, any thoughts from you guys?
I think following up from the breakout makes sense and could give us good fodder for it.
I agree.
You can write it up on the trip back from Montreal.
On the bus, on that bus.
Yeah, you're gonna have all these scribes, and it could be a really nice white paper, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, I put in the chat, I don't think that train exists yet.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks like a bus.
I think you've got a bus.
But hey, you know what? We could put this bus on our travel guide so people can know that they can use this bus.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Then our second to last item, Colleen, any updates with the survey?
No, I think we're still waiting on IRB approval from AMI, so no new changes there yet.
All right. And then Sarah, we don't have Sarah G, so we'll table her items. All right. Good. Thank you so much, guys. It's a great discussion tonight. Appreciate all you guys' work.
Always fun.
Great meeting. Great meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Linda.
Linda. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care, guys.